Well, hi guys. Hopefully this finds you very well. My name's Paul. This is Plan Z. Welcome to the session. Today we're going to be diving into all things Plexi, and to start us out, I'm going to talk you through what my strategy is going to be over the next few weeks. I've been putting out loads of different videos over the last year or so, doing little experiments, and I've been testing out differences between GT1000 cab sims, but mostly trying to work with two notes as well. I really like two notes, so I use my amps in GT1000 like a head, and in the episodes titled 3, so 3.1 is the first of the Plexi videos. There's going to be 2 to 3 of them, but 3.1 is where I'm going to take my patch 1 where I've got dialed in with the two notes. I'm going to save it in patch 5, show you what I do so that I can then run it as a side chain rather than a wet dry using GT1000 cab sims. We're going to dial it in with the GT1000, get that patch ready for the next session. We're going to sound check these today using two notes cabs and the GT1000 that we dial in. We'll listen to different cabs and things there. So I'm going to stop waffling. I've not heard this since yesterday, so I'm coming in with fresh ears. I'm just going to turn up my where are we? We're back pickup. I'm going to talk you through this patch first, and then we're going to save it, and then you can understand what the differences are going to be. So at the moment we've got on two notes cab M, which is positioned down here. Yeah, I've got my main outs are set to line out, and I turn all the mic level off so none of that is coming through, and I turn all the direct level up, and I'm going out line level to two notes, where at the moment we've got the Brownie back, which is the PV5150, I think it's a 412, in an EL84. I've got the gain pot on the bridge pickup on about 7. And all we're hearing is we've got noise suppression at the front here, 70 and 30. And we've got 2 amps. Now when this button here is blue, we switch to this amp here where it's a low gain, but I've got it dialed in with the gain at 80, the sag up at 9, the resonance at 5, the level at 60. Let me just check something. Yeah, level at 60. And then here we're 80, 80, 80, 80 across the lot. Really simple, okay? This is what that sounds like. And this is a low gain amp, okay? In the deep dives, we're going to pull this around, get cleans and things out of it, and we're going to do kind of gain pot roll-offs in this session in a little mo. But let's now go to the medium gain amp. So we see at the end here, it's a medium. When this button's red, I've got control over this button, okay? So when it's blue, it's medium gain, and when it's red, it's high gain. Now here, on the first page, we've got gain at 80, sag and resonance the same as with the low gain at 9 and 5, the level at 60 again, but when I hit the high gain, the gain goes up, cranked all the way, 120, okay? You can hear that noise in the background there. Now, when we get to the next page, the medium gain is set the same as the low gain, so 80, 80, 80, 80. All right, now as I say, in the deep dives, we're going to experiment with this, pull it around, but for now, this is where we're at. Now, when I hit the high gain, everything gets cranked, okay? So we go up to 100 on all of it, all right? And that's all we're doing. Then here, we have 3 EQ blocks. The first one deals with lows and low mid. The middle one deals with the color I want to give the amps, which frequencies I want to push. And this one deals with the high end of the amp, okay? So let's start with the high end. We do a high cut at the moment to 8. All the templates start out like this, and we may end up in a different place once I finish the second episode. Now, at the moment, I'm pulling 6.5 kilohertz on a Q of 16 by 3. I'm doing the same for 4K. Then I'm giving the overall block a bump by 1, pushing the highs by 1, but taking bass out by 1 to compensate for the overall push, okay? Then in the low gain, the low EQ, I do my low cut here at 125. Okay, I just kind of preferred doing it that way around for the time being. And here I'm taking out 500 Hertz on a Q of 8, minus 6 dB, and 315 Hertz on a Q of 8, minus 6 dB. Okay, the level comes up by 2 to compensate for what we've taken out, and this remains the same. Again, we'll dive deeper into this in the second episode. Now, this one here is the one I use to colour the amp. So let's turn it off and see what it sounds like without that. We'll do this through the GT1000 cabs in a little minute, but let's just... Can you hear the difference? I mean, that sounds fat, but when I want a different tone, I'll just bang on this. And I've got a different tone, okay? And that's how I'm using this EQ. So what I do is, this is left level, these two, and the overall level for the block comes down by 3 dB because I'm boosting 800 Hertz on the widest Q to 3, so the widest Q is 0.5. Boosting that by 3, and I'm boosting 2K by the same Q by 3, okay? Nothing in the high-low cut, obviously, right? So then that signal goes out to my 2 notes. Then what's happening here is this is my wet. So I'm going to talk you through a little Eddie Van Halen thing I was trying to work out, and I'm going to explain why I've taken this strategy, and then we're going to try setting it up using the GT1000 cab sim and a side chain rather than running this wet dry that I call it, where my dry signal comes out of my main output and my wet signal comes out of my sub outs, okay? So on my sub outs, I have a compressor, stereo compressor, where I've got the sustain at 60, the attack at 80, the level at 47, the tone at 10, and I go to 2.5. I'll go anywhere between 2.1 and sometimes 1.8 or 1.6, depending on what I have in the wets and what I want to do with it, okay? So in this case, we've just got a simple reverb where we've got a plate where on the expression switch, see just out of shot here, when the heel is back, the time is at 4, the level at 45. Yeah, so let's just engage that. Okay, so before we do the next bit, I just want to explain what I'm up to. Now, my understanding is this. Other than other things that were on his board that would have been on at the time, how Eddie was using the pitch shifter is he'd have his guitar and he'd have his dry signal come into an amplifier. Yeah. And then he would have effects in 2 channels going off to that was split in stereo either side of his dry, and this was his wets, wet, dry, wet. So here he would have what, the pitch shifter. He'd add EQ and things in there, and we'll get to that in other videos, but just to keep it simple for the minute, a reverb. Yeah, so a pitch shifter and a reverb is what I'm going to use. And I'm separating it using my main amps and my subs. Now, I come from using amps and digital gear back in the day, and one of the things I used to do is use splitters and routers to route my signal so I could get wet dries and wet dry wets and do different things, okay? Because in my little head, when you're processing using a modular, if you've got all this that I'm trying to do going out of one output, to me that's a lot of processing. It's like trying to squeeze a really big hot dog into a really small hole, if that makes sense. Whereas if in my, and this is just my own stupid psychology, if I break it out like this, the unit has less to process. So we'll see what differences it makes when we set up this patch in a moment. So here we've got the reverb, and the thing to note is that when the heel is back, when the heel is back, I get the short reverb. And I can extend it all the way up to toe forward and get a nice long wet, okay? But let's pull that back for a moment, because just down here I've got the pitch shifter. So here, and I've tried to set it up like Eddie would. So when we engage it, let's engage it. Okay, so here what we've got, we're in stereo. Obviously it's the pitch shifter. We've got the pitch at 0, 0, direct level at 0, because remember this is a wet channel. The dry level's coming out my main out, and I control that there. We've got medium on at the moment, but we're going to mess around. I'm going to play around with this in other videos. I'll do a dedicated video on it. But I go with fine tune, +9 on one side, -9 on the other, okay? This at 0, 50, none of the feedback at the moment, and do the same on the next page. So we're at level 50. Now the important thing is when you do the assign for this, so you do an assign to turn that on, you can do that, you control all assigns. When you do that, you want the dry level in the reverb to go from 0 when it's off to 50 when it's on. Okay, more than 50 it starts getting bloated, it's too much. It's a nice level there. Now to help us along with that, I've got before the amp, I've put in a treble booster, okay, where I've got the level at 40, 0, 56, bottom on 0, and I've got 2 of the dry mix coming through, okay? So what we're going to do is let's engage it. Let's try that through the cranked amp. Go to the low gain, turn all of this off, so we're now in the low gain. Go to the neck pickup, bring up the gain pot. Now I've also got a chorus in the patch. The chorus is sitting in the dry channel just here, so after the amp. So let's engage that. I might even just turn the level here. Let's have a look. Let's turn that to 90. Bring the low cut 125. Let's leave the high cut where it is. Let's turn that off. Put it back on. Let's turn off this one. Bring up our wet channel. Okay, so that's this patch in a nutshell. I think if I remember right, I have got here a send return where I've got the HX effects in the loop, but I'm not going to be using it in this session. So I could put any preamp or post-amp effects in using the send return depending on the patch. So let's save this with the reverb off, and then let's copy it so that we can set up the GT1000 cabinet and then shoot out a bunch of 2 notes and GT ones. So I'm just going to rename it. Just going to insert there and put in a G and a T, so when I'm flicking around we can all see what I'm up to. Where are we? Patch 5, just make sure. Yep. Now this will be interesting because I might need to turn my 2 notes down or up. I might be too loud, I might be way off, so I haven't done this in ages. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the main out, and before we do anything with it, we're just going to turn it off. So let's just turn that signal off and make sure we do. So that on 0, I'm then going to drag it down here so we're looking a bit more like you. I'm going to take my compressor, I'm going to leave that in this divide, but I'm going to take the sub out and put it here. So now the next thing we hear will be a GT1000 cabinet coming through the dry channel here. Okay, did you follow that? Hopefully you did. So before we had the wet dry, go back in the video if you want to reference it. The speakers were in different parts, but now we're both in the same signal. This one is disengaged because we'd have twice the dry signal. Yeah, in your, because you run out your subs and mains differently to me. You'll be running one into an amp and then one to front of house. You'll just stay set up as you are and just do the rest of it as I am now. Is if it works out. If it doesn't, obviously don't. So here for my wets, to get the wets how I wanted them, I had the 412.2, which is the new 3.20 update cabinet for the Marshall, but I'm using the blend B because I wanted it slightly darker and fuller. So let's hear what we've got. In fact, I've made the change. Let's just stay where we are, save that, hear what we just heard, and then see what the difference is straight off the bat, and then we'll change it. Right, so let's now go into here. I've got to do a bit of button pushing around. It's just a template area in my GT1000. Shut up, that actually sounds quite good. Right, so here we go. What I'm going to do is we're going to leave everything else the same, and I just want to now test if this is going to be better for me after the amp. So let's take this after the amp. Sorry, the cabinet. So let's go firstly, leave it here before the amp cab. Prefer that after the cab. Then we're going to come into the cabinet. Now, let's have a look at these mics. I like that as that came in like that. On the short, in the middle, using the Ribbon 121 and the 57. Now, on my two notes, I've got the Ribbon 121 in the middle of the cabinet and the 57 on the edge of the cone. So about 3 centimeters away. Now, if they've blended this, that's what they would have done. Most people would have done that. So I quite like that. Let's go to this one where the blend will have the 57 higher in the mix, I think. Let's make this darker. Let's put it about 3 centimeters. To my ears, that sounds better. I just want it. Just going to turn it off. Yeah, they're different. They're not exactly the same because obviously the cabinets are different. So now, bear me a moment. Let me just grab the water. Now what we're going to do is we're going to listen to a couple of different cabinets on two notes and GT1000, and then we'll have a little jam. Sorry about that, all of a sudden very dehydrated. Right, so let's get that volume pot up. Let's go back into here. I think I'm going to leave those mics as they are on this one. Yeah, I like that. What did I just quickly want to check? Now, let's see what the difference... So let's go to the original one, the one that comes as the original sim. So... Sounds good. This is the 412 that came with it. I would probably want to turn that down, Just turn that down to 90. Just turn it back up. This is the 412-2. Just want to get my notes in front of me so I don't misinform you. So the 412-2 is the Marshall 1960 we were on. Yeah, that's nice. Let's now do a rectifier cab. Let's see what happens. Harsh as fuck. Oops, excuse my language there, kids. Where are we? Let's go 412-3, which is the orange. Now, back in the oh no, hang on. 412-3 is the recto, and the 412-4 is the orange. Now, back in the day, I had an orange on my Marshall. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go on to, whilst we're there, let's save that with the orange. So this will be interesting because on the 2 notes I've got an orange as well. So let's go. This is, we're 2 notes, Brownie back, EL84. Now the orange is an EL34, so it's different. And it got thinner, yeah. So that's louder, but let's go back to the big. I think my orange could come up. Let's get back into here. So we're back in the GT1000 cab. Now what we're going to do is try... Oh, we've got Bogner. Back on the Marshall, where it should be, back on. Right, so now let's test out this wet, see what happens. Check that this isn't too hot or too cold. Let's see what happens. So let's go to the verb. That feels too bloated for me. I'm just going to come back here. All I'm going to do is go into the effect. Start off by just taking down each side by 2. So that's... Yeah, so I've had to turn this side down by about 3. And I think that's because it's all processing into the 1. Nothing else has really changed, yeah? Other than that EQ moving to the end. I wonder if that's got anything to do... I prefer the sound of the cab that way, so it's irrelevant what happens. The cab is the most important thing. Okay, so let's try this treble boost out. Where are we? There. Yeah, I think I'm quite happy with that. I just want it to kind of take out some of the lows and make the tops a bit more crispy. So I'm going to play safe. I'm going to leave that there for a moment. Leave everything else the same. Let's save the patch with the verbs off. And then maybe let's use this to get us up and running. I'm going to go to the neck pickup. I'm going to stick the first loop on the RC505. Stick the verb on, really wet. finally I got the loop in. So now I'm going to go to one of my stereo patches here. Now in here we've got all the same principles apply, but I run 2 amps in stereo. In the deep dive we're going to dive into this more. I different EQ on each, and then they go through the same EQ here. All the same setup going out to 2 notes. And I'm going to do this, set this up, same way as I have done with the GT1000. But let's start out here. Let's go to a low gain. Let's go to the left amp, stick on some verbs. Gonna go to the right amp now. Get rid of that loop. Obviously I messed it up. I was thinking about the drums. Okay, now we got those in. The rest of the loops will now go in on the RC 600, and I think what I want to do there is actually stay in this patch for a moment, stick on a wet effect. I've got auto wah and my wets, and change. What I'm going to do, I think, is go low. Low gain. Okay, we got that one in. Now I think I'm going to use my fuzz. Now in here we've got a fuzz set up using the 60s fuzz. I've cranked the drive all the way, got the tone back to 10 when I'm on the medium gain, and it remains the same when I'm on the low gain. Sometimes I change that. I've got the level up at 85, the bass up at 14, and 2 of the dry coming through. Let's turn the wet effects off and see what that sounds like. See what it sounds like through a low gain. Right, what I want to do now is stick on this effect here. I'm going to leave my reverb with the heel back. I'm just going to use the treble boost. We're going to come in a bit heavier. gain put on about 7. Exactly the same thing over here. Just prefer the presence of that. Gonna take a loop of this. I've just changed my mind. I forgot I haven't got a loop there at the right length. So what I'm going to do, I think, actually is just stop the loops. Okay, so now we've done that, we listened to different cabinets on the GT1000. Now if you remember, in this patch, we're going straight out to 2 notes. So before we head off, let's go back to the back pickup. We're on the Brownie back as we have been for the whole session. Got the gain put around 6. This is a vintage Marshall G12T75 V30 and an EL84. Love that. Back to the brown. Yeah, love that too. Now so there we went back to the one we've been on the session just to hear the difference between the two. Now we're on another Marshall. So this is a Marshall V30. This is the slash endorsed one. Just going to hear the difference between that and the other Marshall we heard. They're quite different. So now this is an EL34 using 412 Zillas, the Beast in 2 notes. This is a Vox cabinet, so in an EL84 Voice 30, 212. That sounds quite good. This is a Massa Boogie 212 open back EL84. That sounds brilliant. Back to the Brownie. Right, so before we head out of Dodge, let's just see what the telly sounds like. So I use a Gig Rig 321 to get my guitars into GT1000, so I can just put the same guitars through the same amps. I manage the volume differences on the Gig Rig 321. What I will do is just check tuning, because I haven't picked this up today and it's been called. You know what? We're at the end of the session. I'm not going to use it that much. Let's just so gain pot on. Where are we? Let's come back to what would be about 6. Coming up to about 7, 8. Going to the back pickup. Now we'll go to GT1000. Actually sounds better there, doesn't it? Do you know what? I'm going to reserve judgment until I've heard it on YouTube, but that sounded better. Actually, I lie. They sound different. Let's go to... Yeah, you be the judge of that. Really like this session. Looking forward to the next one where we move them around a bit and see what happens. Just before I go, let's have a little... Actually, let's save it for the next session. Take care. It's already been quite a long time. I'll catch you in a bit. Bye-bye.